Seeing something that's, I'm sure as a male, I think it's more horrifying. Whoa, come here. Trying to show the background there. There's some mountains with snow on it. Come on, bud. And some things that are kind of, we're going to go a different way today. Stay out of the grass as much as we can. Or not. Not to sound like somebody else, but look at that view. Kind of interesting hearing that it sounds like China is actually trying to step up the masculinity of its citizens while we are going in the opposite direction. I guess the question I have to ask is, how did we get here? How did we get to a place where manhood, being masculine, is a bad thing? When it's what's helped propagate our species, helped us survive thousands of years. Hunter-gatherers, protecting families and tribes. And now it's frowned upon. How did we get here? Who took over? Who put these people in charge? Oh, our fellow citizens. Or is it actually a minority, a very small crowd who's screaming the loudest and making this? If I'm spinning around, it's because Oliver's getting me wrapped up, or trying to. How did we get here? How did we get to a place where manhood, masculinity, at least how it has been historically known, viewed, and that is a bad thing? It worries me to the point that we're all just going to be like a neutral gender too. Some people will say, hey, Gordon, that's not a bad thing. You're old. That is an old way of thinking. Okay, it may be an old way of thinking, but it's a way of thinking that's hardwired into our genetics, in my opinion. Let's look back at societies. There are some books out there that I forget the name of it off the top of my head. If I find it, I will put it right here. Right there, somewhere. That talks about the fall of Rome, the fall of Greece, the fall of some of these other civilizations, and how we are, it may not be identical, but is very close parallel with what's going on now and then. So could this, I hate to use the term virtue signaling, but the virtue signaling that's going on, the removal of masculinity, even in our military for the most part, could it be the beginning of the end? Or are we already too far down that road to turn it around? So I had a thought, and we're going to put this out here. Something I'm going to write. And it's about the future meeting the past, meeting the present. What's up, buddy? What do you see? And we've heard discussion and theories on the Roswell crash and the aliens, and calling them the Greys. They're kind of apparently a sexless, small, child-sized creature. Don't know if they talk. Don't know any of that stuff. But what if? What if the Greys are us? Or at least we are to them what the Homo erectus was to us. So I had to pause that for a second. I don't know if you saw in the background, that lady was walking up behind me, kind of young girl. She apparently was dumped off here at the park. No phone, nothing but her purse. She's from, it sounds like, up near Northtown, North Las Vegas, for those of you who don't know where that's at, the local nomenclature. Unfortunately, me being kind of the older guy and, things that are going on in the world, I really wasn't inclined to help her too much, like give her a ride somewhere. Because I just, unfortunately, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about, right? Toxic masculinity. I hope she's okay. She's walked away crying. She did use my phone to call somebody twice, and there was no answer. I kind of gave her directions of where she's at. She goes, I don't know where I'm at. I'm like, you know where Wet n Wild's at? She said, yes. I go, you straight down the road, and you'll get there. Hopefully she gets back to where she goes, and everything's okay. But anyway, back to what I was blathering on about. The Greys. Bear with me. What if the Greys are a evolution of us? We're just a step. But we are currently in a time where things change, where we become sexless, where we become weaker physically, at least. Kind of ugly, to be quite honest. And this is the beginning. Now I want you to bear with me. And I may not broadcast this, because I may actually turn it into something like a story. Don and I have talked about it. But what if that Roswell, New Mexico crash was the Greys coming back here? And they're coming back here not because of nuclear proliferation and the fact that we may destroy ourselves and eliminate our chances of escaping what's called the Great Filter. What if they had figured out time travel 90% of the way? Come on, bud. Come on, bud. What are those Horton vehicles? Come on, bud. TMSA. What if they were coming back to stop this madness from going on? Because even though science is fantastic in the future, and genetics has been a thing, like, so we got CRISPR, right? CRISPR's a deal where they can do gene editing. But what if with the blending of the sexes, the removal of masculinity, there became a problem? And that problem, I know this is a stretch, this is a little sci-fi, this isn't a theory, this isn't a hypothesis, or maybe it is a hypothesis, but I'm going to turn it into sci-fi. What if they've run out of options? What if they've run out of ways to reproduce? Can't do it naturally because masculinity has been eliminated. Ultimately, the sexes and femininity has been eliminated, and it's all fucking neutral. It's all gray. So grays could be a double entendre, if you were to think about it. Ooh. Meaning, they're small and they're gray, but gray is a neutral area. Gray is the middle. And yes, the world is gray. It is not black and white. I get it. But think about it. But the problem is they rely too much on science for reproduction. And the problem is science can't, they're at an evolutionary dead end, basically. An evolutionary dead end. Science only can take them so far with reproducing. Because at the end of the day, Mother Nature, Gaia, God, the great magnet, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, that's in charge. So they had to come back. They had to come back from the future. Cue Back to the Future music if you'd like. It's not in a DeLorean. It's in what we think is a classic UFO spacecraft. Problem was their math was off, and they crashed in Roswell, New Mexico initially. Because if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, comments below. If I remember correctly, it's kind of the kickoff on this whole alien thing anyway, right? Oh, you're soggy. So, we'll say it's 2020. Sometime in the 50s, the crash happened. Say we're 80 years off, buck 100. Somewhere in that range. I'm spitballing here. They came back to study us, which is why we got the UFOs. Maybe the probing was to figure out our sexual organs. How do we reproduce? Because there's literature, but they really, I like lab rats. I like dissecting us. They started abducting people after the initial crash, which that crew never returned on, by the way. Probably sitting out there in Wright Pat or wherever now. But what if that's the case? Something to think about. That's why I was going to tentatively call this thing I'm writing the gray filter. So if you have any idea or keen interest in science, there's something called that great filter. Elon Musk has even talked about it. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff out there on it. What if the great filter, let's talk about that for a second. The great filter basically is this point where a single planet society or race will either self-annihilate or then become interplanetary, meaning being able to have the technology to travel in space to get to other planets out there, which is a daunting task and isn't even in our near future, not with the technology the way it is. And I don't think the Greys made it there yet either. They're on the cusp of it though, but unfortunately their population has dwindled down to 10,000. The world has just died off to 10,000 intelligent beings. And they got to figure out how to do it. So I'm going to guess that the Greys they could be 1 million years out from where we are right now. Just if we look at evolution. But did evolution speed up? That's the question, is it 50,000 years? 10,000 years? I wouldn't put it less than 5. Or it could have really sped up and been 100 years. Don't think it's going there yet. But then again, this phone I'm talking to you on, which is fucking fantastic, which has pretty much replaced my camera, 100 years ago, this would have been magical. But we're going to think about that for a minute. That's where I'm at right now, the gray filter. So it's getting dark. This actually may look pretty good. I am under a bunch of LED lights, but I'm also around a lot of people coming up here soon with dogs, so I got to mind him. And we will catch you guys a little later, maybe tomorrow morning when I'm taking a walk. As you can tell, it's a new day, different park, better weather. I was editing this video last night and really didn't have a good ending to it because I think I had intended to continue to talk. Anyway, this is kind of a quick rundown synopsis of what I was thinking of a bit basically for the show. And it's not going to be a video or anything, but it'll probably be done audio style. If I lick my lips a lot, it's because it's dry out here. I edit a lot of lip licking out of my video. It's actually kind of a disturbing amount. But that being said, one of the things I was thinking is, in this process, this video that I put together, just kind of a quick medley of what I was thinking, is we'll give it to you. Some of you guys at the OG5, see if you could help us out, kind of make a little bit of a community effort with this story. So let's go to the basic plot points one more time. And if the sun's in your eyes, sorry, not sorry. Roswell crash wasn't what we thought. Why? Because they are actually not from another planet. They weren't aliens from outside of our planet Earth. They're actually from Earth. It's just in the distant future, or again, not distant future, depending on how fast science helps them along in the evolution of mankind to the Greys. And this evolution obviously didn't work out, because at the end of the day, whoever's in charge, like I stated earlier, or just a natural order of things, doesn't allow this to happen for a very long time. So somewhere around 2020, obviously it started beforehand because we're living in the time, genders, toxic masculinity, as they call it, or masculinity, or just being a man, being a dude, under attack, frowned upon. China, for decades, has not allowed females to be birthed. So China has had a little bit of an experiment going on with this anyway, if you think about it. You got a mostly male population, and because of that, and probably the old saying, any port in a storm, think of prisoners, masculinity has softened. It's become probably a little more effeminate, a little more metro. They've come out recently, basically say they want to man up, teach a little more a little more masculinity to the men, while we are softening them. That being said, part of the storyline is the earth has softened too much, to our own detriment, to our own chagrin, to our own noisy mechanical room, pool pump room actually, right behind me. Oh, the smell of chlorine. Clark County's got a nice swim facility here behind me, which is located right next to Wet n Wild behind me. This is actually the park I sent that girl down to. One of the reasons I sent her here was because at least at this county building she could probably get the proper help. Did she seek it? Is everything fine? Who knows? It's been about 2 days. Friday is when I sent her down here. This is now Sunday. We're back to normal Vegas weather. Not one cloud in the sky. Feeling pretty comfortable. And anyway, I digress. So the synopsis, real quick, run down. Working title: The Gray Filter. Right here. I got my tongue in the top of my mouth. Working filter is the gray. Working title is the Gray Filter. We are the ancestors of a race, a species of people, of beings at this point, who has lost all gender. Through science, they were able to reproduce through gene editing, basically test tube babies. But because of this, it looks changed to something similar to what we call the Grays. Roswell, New Mexico. Classic UFO. That's us, guys. So that's the basic synopsis. They've discovered a way to do time travel and came back to Earth to stop this madness. Again, not nuclear destruction, but actual destruction of our long-term survival as an intelligent species on this planet. That's the synopsis. Hit like. Please subscribe if this is interesting to you at all. Throw in some ideas below the line. Email your ideas to info@d-410.com. And we'll start getting this together. We'll workshop this across the community. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you later.
This has been a Digital 410 production.